Hey everyone, welcome back. So today is Friday, and obviously the market's down, Bitcoin's down, miners are down. So we'll take a look at the miners. We'll take a look at Bitcoin first, because that's obviously what's driving the miners. But we'll also take a look at, we'll do a deep dive on three things that are actually have an effect on the miners' revenue. So we'll take a look at that as well. It's kind of interesting to take a look at that. There were quite a few questions that I've seen recently on this, so I thought I would go into a big explanation on this. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. As always, not financial advice, for entertainment only. Do your own research. Don't fall for scams. Spam posts get reported and deleted. I'm invested in the following companies and coins for full disclosure. So let's get into the price of Bitcoin here really quick, and we'll get into the other stuff as well. So Bitcoin right now is trying to do a little rally here on the 1 hour chart. We're seeing it's at 40,220. We're obviously below our support line here of 40,750 roughly. And we've fallen below it and stayed most of the day below it as well. So right now, our next possible support line, if we go far enough out, is going to be right around 37,500 or so is our next support line that we have drawn on here. We'll see how this will play out. Obviously, I'm not too thrilled with the RSI right now. If we look at it very close up, we can see that the RSI is growing, but we are, if we look at it at this point in time, we're at 41.98. Last time we were around here, we were way higher on the 1 hour chart. And so we've obviously had a decrease in price, but the RSI is in flat. And we can see it here that on the bottom that we reached here on the RSI around 16, we were around, right around 40,700 or so. And we are obviously higher on the RSI, but we are lower in price, which isn't a good sign for me. So a little worried about that. We'll see how this changes going into the weekend. We obviously just transition over to the new day on Bitcoin chart. If we look at the daily chart, we can see that we've had obviously three full days of in the red and then 1 day in the green so far. Right now, we're studying that out. So we'll see how this plays out as well. RSI is looking okay on the daily chart. It's nothing to brag about as far as I can see. Obviously, we do have the split again on the 20-day moving average and the 50-day moving average here, where they're both coming down. It looks like we're getting close to basically having that cross happen here. And then within a couple of days, if we didn't have the FUD from the Russia-Ukraine possibility of war. So that's obviously driving the markets down, which is unfortunate. So we do have a pause in our possible rally here. I mean, we still have this trend line here going up in price. We'll see if this can continue on. Obviously, the developments that are happening in Europe will obviously dictate where price of Bitcoin is going, whether it's going to go up or down. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's take a look at Ethereum here really quick as well. So Ethereum is following the same trend as Bitcoin. Obviously, the last 3 days were down. It's up a little bit right now on the charts. We'll see how this also plays out. It's at 2,803 right now. So we'll take a look at it over the weekend, see how it plays out. And we'll also take a look at the miners tomorrow versus Bitcoin, see how they did for the week. It's going to be a close one, whether or not they were positive for the week or not. So that'll be interesting to take a look at as well. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin hash rate really quick. And we can see that it's continuing to go up here in total hash rate, right? So we've seen this happening over and over. We have spikes, we come down a little bit, then higher spikes continuing to go on. So this is on the 7-day raw values are now. Raw values have come down a little bit to 186. Could be some miners turning off. We do have a little bit of frigid temperatures out here in the north. So that could be why they're just helping out their local communities have the electricity they need to keep their homes clean. So that could be the reason for the dip on that. But basically, let's take a look at the miner revenue as well. And we'll see if that is going up or down. And that is actually, yeah, it was going up for, well, Bitcoin was going up, obviously, in price. But obviously, Bitcoin has been coming down in price. So the revenue has been coming down as well on the raw values. On the 7-day average, we can see that it's still climbing up a little bit. But a little bit might have peaked here a little bit yesterday. All right, so that is that for them. Let's take a look at the miners here really quick, and then we'll get into the main topic at hand. So Argo was obviously down today, 6.21% to 89 cents. Everybody was pretty much down on the day. It's been tough 2 days here in the markets for not only for Bitcoin, but for the miners as well. Bitfarms was down also 4.96% to $3.45. CleanSpark was down 13.13% to $8.93. It's obviously had a nice rally after posting earnings last week, but that rally is obviously has been short-lived because of what's going on. So we'll see how that one plays out going forward, and it's down another 2.13% in the after hours to 8.74. So that's one I might be looking to buy a little bit more when it gets closer to $8 I may pick up some more of that dollar cost average in. Core Scientific was down huge too. It was down 10.22% to 826. It's down another 0.61% to 821 in the after hours. And it's been going down the last 3 days here. It's fallen below the 20-day moving average. And we're seeing on the MACD here a divergence as well. We're seeing a red bar happening on that one. DigiHost was down 9.86% today to $3.20. We saw obviously the MACD divergence here yesterday happen, and then obviously today we have a continuation of that, so we're in a downtrend on these guys. DMG was down 4.09% to 46.5 cents, and the MACD on this one is still green on it, so we'll see how this one plays out, whether or not, well, it all depends on obviously where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin goes down, they're going to go down anyways. So we really need to follow Bitcoin, see what it's doing. This is Hive. Hive was down 2.48% to $1.97. It is now below the 20-day moving average also. MACD is also flat in the green right now. Hut 8 was down 7.04% to $5.84. It's down another 1.35% in after hours to $5.86. It is also below the 20-day moving average as well. And we may have a cross here in the MACD on Monday, turning red a little bit here, but the red bar's coming. Iris Energy was down, not that much today. It was only down 0.37% to $13.54. It is flat in the after hours. MACD is also green right now, and it is battling with the 50-day moving average on the chart here. Maura was down 7.12% to $23.89. It's down another 1.21% in the after hours to $23.60. And it is below the 20-day moving average as well. And we may see that divergence here in the MACD happening within the next couple of days. We may start having a couple red bars. Mawson was down 10.13% to $3.46. It's down another $1.45 in the after hours to $3.41. Mawson has been getting hammered here for the past, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. It's been getting hammered, getting much lower, obviously. It is way lower from where it was prior, so this is possibly a new all-time low for them. Let's see here. Previous close, 52-week low. Okay, 52-week low was actually $2. 52-week high was $17.25 on it. So it's not at the all-time low. I thought it might have been at the all-time low. And then let's look at Riot finally here. Riot was down 4.45% to $16.97, and it is down in the after hours 0.59% to $16.87. And the 52-week low was $12.90 on this one. So it's battling right now with the 20-day moving average. MACD is still green, but obviously in a couple of days, possibly middle of the week next week, we may have that turn red on the MACD as well. So there you have it. Rough day for the markets. It's been a rough week for the markets, actually. Had a pretty good start to the week, but ended pretty badly. So we'll take a look how things progress going into next week. We'll see if there's any war happening and how that's going to affect the price of Bitcoin. So we'll see. So now the main topic. Obviously, there's three things that affect the Bitcoin, not Bitcoin price. Three things that affect the earnings of Bitcoin miners. The first is obviously you have the Bitcoin price, which is obviously what it's affecting the stock price right now. But the second thing is also the Bitcoin network hash rate. And the third is how many miners they have and how many miners are going to be installing. So let's take a look at this. I did a couple Excel files for this to provide you guys with a comparison and to kind of illustrate how each one has an effect on the overall revenue that the miners will have. So let's get into it here right now. And let me see here. Okay, so this is just a basic spreadsheet here, right? I'm going to explain a little bit about it so you guys can understand what's going on here. And then we'll look at some examples here, and then we'll continue this on. So I'm doing basically for the full calendar year of January through December. Reward hash rate is, or not reward hash rate, rewards, Bitcoin rewards is 900 per day to the miners based on what they're mining. Some are obviously getting a percentage of that. And we know that the hash rate right now is around 200 million. So we have that in here, and the price of Bitcoin is around 40,000 right now. And I'm using the average miner that's out there right now is about 100 terahash or so. So I'm using that as the example here. And based on that information, we know that they would be making about $18 gross profit. And then this net hash is just a smaller number of the 200 million here. It's divided by 10 million here. So we could get, 10 million. So we could get this all to fit in here. So the hash rate is represented by the orange bar here, and the revenue for the miner is represented in the blue line here. So we can see how this is going to play out. So we can increase or decrease the hash rate and the price of Bitcoin by a percentage, and it will obviously increase by that amount each month. So if we increase the hash rate by just 2% a month, we can see that the income for the miner obviously drops about the same amount. So we went up about 25% here in the hash rate for the year, and the price basically went down in 25% less revenue for the miners. So we can see as the increase in hash rate goes up, price stays the same. We're going to see a decrease in the price or in the revenue. I keep saying price, but it's revenue on the miners. So let's take a look at another example here. Another example is on the price of Bitcoin. So let's say Bitcoin goes up 2% a month. We can see, obviously, as in the hash rate stays the same, we can see that the income for the miner is growing, obviously, each month because of the increase in Bitcoin price. So we know that this is to be true. So hash rate stays the same, Bitcoin price goes up in value, the miners are going to be making more. So now what happens if the price or the hash rate goes up by 3% and Bitcoin price only goes up by 2%? So we can see hash rate increasing here, and we can see the decrease in revenue for the miners here. So we started out $18, and then as we went on throughout the year, we can see that the revenue here has decreased to 16, 17, which is approximately, what is it going to be? 2% decrease or something like that over the, more than that. It's going to be, let me see, 10% would be $2, so roughly around 8% or so decrease over the year in the revenue. So if we look at it also the opposite way, let's say the price of Bitcoin goes down, 2% a month basically. That is going to have a huge impact on the price or the revenue that the miners are getting here. So we can see that the inverse happens as the hash rate goes up, price goes down a little bit to it during the same time. And we're going to be almost 65, 70% less in revenue towards the end of the year than we were obviously this year. So we have these two competing strings basically that are pulling the price or the revenue, I should say, the revenue of the miners. One is obviously the hash rate itself, right? So as that increases, that's obviously going to decrease the amount that you're making. And the same thing could happen if the price goes up. If the price goes down even more, you're going to be decreasing even more. So those two are pretty closely linked to each other, right? Hash rate increases, you're going to make less unless Bitcoin price goes up in price the same amount. So we'll take a look at this here right now. So if Bitcoin price increases by the same value as the increase in hash rate, we can see that the price or the revenue basically stays flat. So in order for the miners to be making the same amount that they are now, either the price of Bitcoin has to increase at the same amount, or we'll talk about this in a little bit here, but the miners, they have to get more miners installed to counteract the decrease in Bitcoin price and the hash rate increase. So we'll take a look at that in a minute here. But here is a heat map. So I hope this kind of makes sense how this all works, right? It's just a couple strings pulling on each other, and depending on which one's going, it's going to depend on the price or the revenue that the miners are having, okay? So let's take a look at the heat map that I created for this. So the heat map starts here at 200 million for the hash rate. It's $18 per miner with a $40,000 Bitcoin price. And then we have the price going down by 2% here because we have it at 1.02, and then increasing going this way. And then we have the hash rate going down by 2% here and increasing by 2% here. So we can take a look at this, and hopefully this will make a little bit more sense now. As the price stays the same, and if hash rate goes down, the miners will actually end up making more. So you would be making 22.48 if the hash rate continues to go down and price stays the same or at the same level basically. But if the price or the hash rate increases, obviously you're going to be making a lot less. We could be down to 14.19 per miner. If the hash rate goes up basically to 253 million at the end of the year. And it gets even worse if, obviously, that doesn't get too much worse, but it gets a little bit worse, obviously, if the hash rate goes down and the price goes down as well, which we would be then around here, 1764, which isn't much of a change considering that we are at 18 here, going down this line here. This is kind of like our center line. So as long as the price of Bitcoin goes down at the same rate as the hash rate goes down, you're basically making the same thing. And if the price of Bitcoin goes up and the hash rate increases at the same rate, you're making the same amount. But if any of the two are different, so if Bitcoin goes up or let's say Bitcoin goes down in price, but the hash rate goes up, you can see that you're gonna be making less here and less. Especially if Bitcoin goes down to like 31,000, you're obviously gonna be making a heck of a lot less than you are right now, which is $18 compared to $11.14. So I'm hoping that this heat map represents that value change from one spectrum to the other. Price increase, price decrease, hash rate increase and decrease, and how that affects the revenue for the miners here. Okay, so we got that hopefully well explained. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'll try to explain it a little bit better in the comments. I'm going through everything in my mind right now, trying to remember what I want to talk to you guys on this. So I may miss something. If I do miss something, I apologize, and I'll get it in the comments. Okay, so now let's take a look at the third part of it, which is the miners, right? So it's not bad enough that you have the price changes going on, you have the hash rate changes going on. Now, obviously, one way to counteract all of this is through the miners. So a lot of the guys are getting miners installed this year. They're going to be, some of them are going to be doubling, some of them are going to be going 4x, 5x in the amount of miners they have. So that's going to help offset any of those increases in hash rate and possible decreases in Bitcoin price. So let's take a look at how that affects it all here in the next chart. So here we have the same data basically as we had on the previous one, on the very first Excel sheet that I did. But the only thing is I added the number of miners that they have here. So I put 2,000 miners just as an example to kind of show you how this can all be counteracted. So everything right now is pretty much the same flat as it is. So let's just increase the hash rate, increase by 2% a month, right? So we're getting to 248 million at the end of the year for the hash rate. And we can see that the price there, so the price is still blue, hash rate is the orange. We can see that the revenue that they're getting is decreasing with just, 2% increase in hash rate every month. So that's decreasing. Now let's take into account, that's just for example reasons, say Bitcoin goes down by 2% a month, right? We can see now that the price is even further decreasing here. So we started out making about 36,000 per miner or for the miners a day. And then we ended up at the end of the year making only 23,000 for all the miners being installed. One way to counteract that is obviously getting more miners installed than the decrease in price and hash rate increase. And the way to offset that is, let's take a look at just going up 2% here. So a 2% increase in miners, obviously there wouldn't be a lot of miners being installed. You'd be only at 487 more miners installed. That's going to be pretty paltry. Let's increase that because a lot of the guys are doubling that. So let's go to 10% miners. That's kind of high. Let's go 8% increase in miners. All right. So as you can see here, if we just increase the miners by 8%, so you started out with 2,000 miners at the beginning of the year. At the end of the year, you're at 4,663. So that is a nice increase, right? Which is what most of the miners we're seeing are doing. They're at least doubling their fleet of miners that they have right now. And as long as they do that, and even if Bitcoin price goes down, hash rate continues to go up, they should be able to make more revenue because they have more miners installed that are generating revenue for them. And they're offsetting that increase in hash rate and everything else. So even if the hash rate goes up, say, 4% a month, now we're at basically a 50% increase in hash rate over the year. We are still seeing that they are going to be able to make basically more revenue from where they are right now. So basically what I'm trying to say is, as long as the miners are getting installed, I think where the Bitcoin price goes and where there's obviously limits to it, but I think there's a point where it doesn't really matter. As long as the miners are getting installed, they're going to be making a heck of a lot of money. So that's kind of what I'm trying to explain is there are three things that impact the revenue for them, but the biggest thing that's going to impact them is obviously the miners getting installed. So that's why I keep saying for these smaller guys that are increasing only 1 exahash or 2 exahash, you really need to grow your exahash, to combat this constant increase in hash rate and the Bitcoin price we don't know what Bitcoin price is going to be, so it could go down, could go up. But this is a great example of how that all works. So more miners get installed, your revenues are going to be increasing as well. And I think a lot of shareholders maybe don't know that this is the case. As long as they're getting miners installed, they should be making plenty of bank, basically. Let's take a look at another scenario here. So let's just say the hash rate stays where it's at, 4% a month. And then let's say the price increases by the end of the year by 1.02%. So we're at 50,000 basically at the end of the year here. If we increase it by 2%, you can see how much more of an impact that has as well. I mean, it's obviously going to have a huge impact, but even if Bitcoin price doesn't go up, it goes down 2% each month, we're still seeing that they are making more and more each month. It started out with 36,000 a day on the miners to 43,000. So they still were able to double it. The only way that they wouldn't be able to double it is, let's say, oh gosh, I don't know, what would the price have to go down to? Let's say the price goes down 5% a month. Well, then at that point, they're actually making less here, right? So at 5% decrease, you're looking at basically a 50% drop in the Bitcoin price where it's at right now, 48,000, and you're ending up at 22,000 at the end of the year, even if the hash rate just goes up at 4%. So I think that kind of explains it pretty well. There's a certain point where you are profitable and a certain point where you are not. So let's put in 4% decrease. So a 4% decrease, that would be the same increase as on the miners here, or the hash rate, right? The difference between the two. And we can see that we are pretty close, or a lot closer to what we were making. So we're making a little bit less on the miners than before with the hash rate increase, but it's a lot closer. If we make it 97, so with only 3%, we're making more. So I hope this helps. I know I didn't do probably the best job explaining it all. But as you can see, there's a lot of things that pull on the revenue of the miners here. And the biggest benefit that they have, I think, is installing more miners. That is going to offset it. I keep saying this over and over again. So, but yeah, I'll leave it at that because I'm going to ramble on here. So if you guys enjoyed this, found this informational, useful, let me know in the comments down below. Love to talk to you guys there. Also, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And this spreadsheet I'll provide to my Patreon, so that'll be available there. You guys can play with it as well. I think it's kind of cool to take a look at how this all works. So that's it. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll do a video tomorrow on miner versus Bitcoin, see how they did. I don't know how it's going to be. It's going to be a close week. We'll see if we're in the green or if we're in the red. And then we'll see if there's anything else that comes up over the weekend, and maybe we'll do a video on Sunday. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and then I'll see you guys on Monday. So that's all I got. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you until next time.